Yeah, and always remember that Chris and I will accidentally gaslight each other.
Yeah, that's just a thing that we do.
Completely on accident. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CoinDrop podcast. This is episode 123, and joining me on this episode is Chris. It's been 2 weeks, I think? No, 3 weeks since you and I have done an episode. Yeah, because Zach was on the last one. So how you been, buddy? What have you been up to?
Oh God. So you remember that one time I just kind of got married and then told you?
Uh-huh, yeah. And the time you bought a new car and then told me?
Yeah, and then I got a new car and then I told you?
Yeah.
So I put an offer down on a house and now I'm telling you.
Bro, you're just over here living your best life.
Yeah, I'm trying, dude. I really am.
Wow, you're doing better than me.
But yeah.
You also had a new job interview? Getting into a security position?
Yeah, I got a new job interview, potentially to get to a new security position. Considering how things are turning out with my current job, I've kind of gotten them to unscrew themselves and my hours. If I take this position that I just interviewed for, I will be asking for the very high end of the pay ceiling, because it's a no equipment, hands-off security job, but that means that I am now leveraging all of the rest of my skill set to do the job properly, which I have no problem doing. But if you want me to do that with no equipment to back up myself up, I'm going to ask for more money.
Fair.
Plain and simple.
Fair.
Plus, you know me, I'm really good at what I do. I'm overqualified for all these jobs I apply for.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
But yeah, I mean, it's either I take that or my current job. I'm currently lined up to become the regional supervisor for the Spokane area, and I will be building the Eastern Washington region basically how I see fit.
Sure.
And any new contracts I get for them, I get commission from them. So potentially more money, a little bit more stuff that I can kind of do if I stay with the company I'm at right now, but that means I have to do marketing, and I'm not about that.
Yeah, marketing, speaking as someone who does the marketing for this podcast, marketing sucks. So I don't blame you.
Yep, I can talk to people all day. I told them, I was like, you set up meetings?
Yep.
I will secure a contract. I promise you.
Yep.
I will secure that contract. But getting people to have a meeting with me is not my strong suit.
Yeah. Well, you've been playing any games? Anything new?
Yeah. We'll be talking about it here today.
Yep.
But I have tried out the Outward 2 playtest because I have been an avid fan, unlike you, of the first game.
We'll get into that. Yeah.
Yep. Other than that, I jumped back into Path of Exile a little bit, Space Marines 2 a little bit, just kind of getting ready for that new update that's coming out, patch 12, which is going to introduce the new Tech Marine class to the game.
Nice.
So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm not the biggest Warhammer fan, but I should say I am a new Warhammer fan, so I'm learning a lot about the lore and all that kind of stuff. But my life has pretty much been dominated by work.
Yeah.
So I haven't had, I've told you, the free time that I used to have in like luxury is not a thing I have anymore.
What's funny is I just finished editing and posting that short of you when we were doing the Sand Sound audio review, saying like, hopefully 2026 doesn't change your free time too much. So it's very funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's happened.
Yep.
Hopefully things here stabilize soon, but
I feel it.
For the foreseeable future, probably the next 2-3 months, I'm going to be a pretty busy dude.
Sounds like it. Well, my life has been, let's just say bad luck bingo. Yeah, I've got the whole country song, the bad country song going. In 29 days, I saw the end of a 12-year relationship. I put down one of my dogs and had to face the fact that I am losing my house. Because in the state of Washington, when you get divorced and you co-own a home, one person has to buy the other person out of the house if you want to keep it. There is no exceptions. There is no way around that. And neither of us have $200,000 laying around to buy the other person out. So yeah, I got the bad country song.
That's what you meant by...
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you telling me, you're like, yeah, we haven't filed because then that means like we have to live separately. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's a thing, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
That does sound like a very Washington law.
It is a very
I hate
Washington
that for
law.
you.
Yeah, it sucks. So we are
I
still living
for
together, or we haven't even filed separation paperwork, but technically we can file that and still live together. But once we file the divorce, obviously, like we have to sell and split assets. We have to have a co-parenting program, all of that. It's a lot of work and it's shitty, but you know.
It's very government involved, and
and it
that just makes your guys' no, absolutely not.
Anyways, so you've been over here getting all the wins, and I'm catching the Irish luck, which is pretty par for the course for me. So that's where I'm at. But I have had, it hasn't been all bad. I got a review copy for a game I forgot I requested. So I Hate This Place, a game we talked about on the last episode in the upcoming game section of our Patreon, came out, and shortly before it did, they sent me a review copy that's under embargo. So I'm still working my way through that. I haven't been able to get the review done because I haven't beaten the game yet, because time sucks right now. And most of it is spent either at school or doing DoorDash or trying to figure out my fucking life at this point. So there will be a review for that. It is, without getting too much into it, the embargo is pretty much over at this point because the game's out. I don't know that it's a game for everyone, I guess is the best way I can say it. I'm having a hard time deciding whether or not to recommend it. So we'll see how it all shakes out at the end. But I personally am enjoying it, but I'm having to, the hardest thing about doing reviews is the reviewer generally, not always, generally gets a copy for free. So we get to play the game without the buy-in of the game, generally. And that is something we have to keep in our minds. If you're going to be good at your job, you have to remember that not everyone is going to get the game for free. There is a bar to entry here. And you have to remember that and think, okay, is this game that I'm playing for free worth the cost to the consumer for the bar to entry? And that's a hard thing to keep in your mind because you're playing the game with no cost. So it's one thing to consider. And because of that, I'm having a hard time deciding whether or not the price meets the game and if it's a game that I would recommend. But that's further down the line.
It's good that you recognize that, because you're absolutely right, because there have been a lot of reviews where people are just like, oh yeah, like this game, it's okay, I would recommend that people at least try it out and stuff like that. It's like, all right, cool, but like, is it worth the money I'm going to invest to play it? Because people need to remember that. It's like, okay, cool, like this is how much time it took me to get past this part. Like at what point do I feel like I've gotten that point to where I feel like I can give an honest review of not just the game, but is it worth people buying the game?
And that's always been my thing. Even when CoinDrop was a website and Tim and I kind of worked on it, he was very adamant that we needed to do review scores. And I've always hated that because a lot of people will just go, okay, it's a 7 out of 10, it's a shit game. Because the scores, much like EPRs in the military, are inflated out of control. Again, I don't want to get too into this, but what we ended up deciding on is determining whether or not the game was worth its price tag. And if it wasn't, we would say, hey, wait till this game is X amount of money before you bother investing in it. And I personally like that system. It kept us out of aggregate sites like Metacritic and things like that because we didn't have a score on our reviews. But I feel like it gave the people that read our reviews or watched our reviews a more accurate understanding of the value that you're getting, because shit's expensive.
Yep, absolutely.
Speaking of value, over on Patreon, we're going to be talking about some interesting changes in Ubisoft. Big, interesting changes, to the point where their stocks dropped to almost penny level stocks. Now, that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. We'll talk about what they're doing over there, what's happened, and what's changed. This also coincides with anybody who watched the Patreon, where I said Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake was apparently out now. It's not. It's effectively permanently canceled. And we'll talk about more of that over on Patreon at patreon.com/CoindropPod, where you get this podcast, the audio version, 2 days early. It comes out on Tuesday over there. Plus, you get an exclusive link to the Patreon video side that comes out that Thursday as well. So you get a bunch of extra content. We talk about another topic, upcoming games for the next week or two, and we'll go over all that over there. So with that, let's jump into our first big topic for the night. And I want to get your immediate thoughts because we talked about it very briefly before we started. Fable. Xbox just recently did a developer showcase this month, and we got to see the new Forza Horizon, which looks fucking phenomenal, in my opinion. Looks gorgeous. Can't wait to play it. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about another Playground Games game. We finally got a deep dive into Fable, and I think it's safe to say all three of us here at CoinDrop have had our opinions at least slightly changed on the game, if not more so. But Chris, I want to hear your thoughts before I get into my huge list of notes about their 20-ish minute showcase for Fable.
It was a really good video to watch because I think that's the first genuine, like, in-depth, hey, here are details, this is what we've done, this is what we're doing with the game since it got announced. I don't think they've really gone into any real detail since then that I can think of. It made me happy to at least see what's been going on in their head, level designs, what they're doing, systems that they're bringing back from the original Fable into the new one.
Yeah.
Which, like, any one of us, like, back in middle school who spent all that time playing the original Fable on the original Xbox.
Yeah, classic.
There is almost inevitably that one playthrough where you just become the evil douchebag. You're running around town. The citizenry is actively scared of you.
Yes. Yeah.
The first thing I want to touch on that I was just like, oh, yes, thank you for bringing this back, is the new system that they're using to implement that old system back into the modern game. So it's not just your choices, it's not just like white and black, you're either good or you're evil. They're adding all of those extra things on there. So you spend a lot of time buying up businesses and maybe being a dick to the citizenry. They're going to see you as just being like, oh yeah, we get it. You're rich. You have money, blah, blah, blah. The actual genuine interactions that you have with the NPCs in the towns are molded specifically by the decisions and the interactions that you have, not just your karma points, I guess.
Yeah,
the
not
karma
just your
system
charisma
that the old game
right?
had.
It's not just everybody loves you because you maxed charisma. You're not the Rizzler.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things, because how they mentioned it in the video, it's that little system in the game itself was kind of like a game within the game.
Right.
Because now it's, yeah, sure, I want to be like the hero, but, fuck these peasants. And people are going to be like, oh, you're a good guy, but you're kind of a dick.
Yeah.
So, or, like some kind of like vice versa thing. It's really great that they've got all those extra little karma systems that really detail it. The permanent long-term effects, talking about one of the early game quests for an NPC that you have a decision on. Oh, how do I solve this? Do I kill this guy or do I help solve his problem? Well, yeah, if you kill him, his corpse, his giant corpse, mind you, now is just permanent part of the scenery, which will affect housing prices, how the people of that town will see you and stuff like that. And that brings me so much joy because it's just like, oh, great.
So let's talk about the NPCs a little bit more. There is over 1,000 handcrafted NPCs in Fable, over 1,000, all fully voice acted, all with their own unique lives. You can literally follow them around from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. They all have quote unquote real lives. And like Chris was saying, how you treat them, what you do around town, how you interact with them is going to change how they react to you, more or less, right? So I don't want to get too much of the rose-tinted glasses on, but this could simply be a binary system of if you're mean to them, they hate you. If you're good to them, they like you. Or it could be more complex. Maybe like Chris was saying, you decide to kill this giant and the people of the city hate you, but you also do something good for the city. So now you've got this kind of mixed relationship. How are we talking a binary system or are we talking a sliding system? It's one thing they weren't clear on. So it could be a very complex, it could be a very basic system, because Fable 1 was very basic.
Yeah.
You were good, people liked you. You were bad, people feared you. It's very binary. We've moved very far from that. So I would like to think it's on a sliding scale with a little bit more complexity, but who knows?
The impression that I got, mostly just from how they spoke about that system, like you said, they didn't confirm it one way or the other.
Yeah.
But the way it was spoken about leads me to believe that it's maybe not like a true complex sliding system, but definitely something at the very least a little bit more complex than just a binary thing. Because they distinctly said they wanted to step away from that binary system.
Right.
They did state that.
Yes. And their idea of morality in the original games, right? You had good or evil. It was a slider. They specifically say morality isn't black and white, and morality is subjective. So I'm really curious to see how that plays in, because speaking about the worst supervillain of all time, Adolf Hitler didn't think he was the villain of his own story. So morality is perspective. Everybody else in the rest of the world can all unanimously agree that, hey, you're an evil piece of shit, and that obviously makes him an evil piece of shit, but no one believes they're the villain of their own story. So if morality being a gray spot like that, being this subjective reality, it makes me wonder how that plays into the narrative choices of the game, the complex choices of the game, and how other characters see you, right? If you're an evil person, but you're doing evil for good reasons, let's say lawful evil, I guess, would be kind of you're doing evil things for good reasons. Or chaotic good, however you want to cut that. Anyways, are you going to have...
Lawful evil is what you're going for.
Sure. Are you going to have, citizens that are afraid of you, but also some that respect you? There's an interesting level of complexity that they could go here that I would love to learn more about. But I want to touch on the team first, before we go any further. This is, contrary to what I previously thought, this is an entirely new team at Playground Studios. These devs were not members of the Forza team, which is what I initially thought. Like, how are you going from a racing game to this? This is a team they built specifically of people who believe two things. One, that the Fable franchise is very, very, very near and dear to their heart. And two, they have a burning desire to bring it back to the modern day. So these are dedicated fans of the original franchise that want to remake those, not those games, but that experience in a modern world. So that gives me a lot more hope for this team, that they're not coming from like, okay, well, I work on cars and now we're making a hugely sprawling RPG. It gives me a little bit more faith, I guess, in the team. On top of that, they have confirmed that this is a reboot, but they haven't confirmed timeline, kind of where it fits. There's some inconsistencies from the original with this remake, but there's some stuff that kind of also overlaps, which is really interesting. So
yeah, because they're bringing back 2 or 3 of the original towns, like the main castle town, the tower and all that.
Yeah, Bowerstone and Fairfax Castle. But what's interesting is in the original games, I don't remember if 2 was. I don't think 2 you started in the Heroes Guild. 1, in Fable 1, because I played the shit out of that game, the Heroes Guild wasn't in Bowerstone, but it is in this Fable. It was outside of Bowerstone in the original. So they've moved the guild inside the city, which is interesting, and it feels more D&D that way. Baldur's Gate, not just the game, but the actual setting in Forgotten Realms, D&D tabletop, has always been known and like was kind of the first idea of a adventurers guild in a town kind of thing in a fantasy setting. So it feels like they're drawing from that inspiration a little bit more for that. And arguably it makes more sense. But the Heroes Guild being in Bowerstone is a change that I don't recall being in 2 or 3. In 2, you started at the camp with Theresa, and 3, you started as a noble. So I don't remember if the Heroes Guild was in 3 at all, to be honest, but that's besides the point. We also see the return of a faction and of a town that we haven't seen since Fable 2. Bloodstone is a town in the north of Albion, which we haven't seen since Fable 2, and was home to the Cult of Shadows in that game. It's also still the home of the Cult of Shadows in the remake. So there's some interesting stuff with your character in the fact that you are the first hero born in a generation. Why? What happened? Why are you the first one in so long? Are you the first hero? Period, kind of thing. I guess you couldn't be because you've got the Heroes Guild, but it begs the question of where in the timeline do we plan on this game taking place? Is it truly a complete reboot of the universe, or is it kind of like a parallel kind of thing? So interested to find out more.
And I just did a quick little Google because I'm not gonna lie, I played Fable 2, was not a very big fan
Most
of it,
people
so I
weren't,
just
yeah.
did what I normally do with games that I'm not a fan of, and don't do any of the side quests, and I rush the main quest just to be like, yep, done with that game, never worrying about it. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, shit, where was the Heroes Guild? So they had this thing called the Guild Cave or the Chamber of Fate.
Yes, that was at the very beginning of the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end.
And it says it's beneath a small island in the middle of Bower Lake, which was technically outside the city still.
Yeah. I still think Fable 2 was a grossly underrated game. I think it was fantastic, and the way that game ended was heartbreaking. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember that game. I did my best to brain dump that game.
I don't blame you. A lot of people didn't like it, but I did enjoy it personally. I liked all the Fables, but that's just me.
I actually didn't play Fable 3.
So 3's a rough game. 3 has a lot of issues that basically they diluted the formula down to A or B. It left a lot of the gray out of it. And so I'm very happy that we're seeing more of the gray come back in, because at least in 2, you still had some gray. There was this area, I guess, that was not good, not evil kind of thing you could kind of toy around with. But in 3, the story of 3 was basically you're the second prince, your brother becomes the regent of Bowerstone of Albion, and you get exiled or you leave and stage a revolution against him because he's evil as fuck. So once you take over, you realize why he was doing all the evil shit he was doing, because he knew about an army that was coming that he had kept secret to try and keep the people, and he was trying to make enough money by taxing the shit out of people to prepare for this big war that was coming that was going to wipe everybody out. So basically, the biggest issue with that game was everything was so tied to money that you had to be an evil dictator so that the people would survive. The other option, which sucked if you wanted to make the good choices, which meant you weren't getting enough money, you weren't making the preparations you needed to make for this war, was you spent hundreds of hours grinding away at jobs, smithing, or pouring drinks to make your own money enough that you could make the good choices and not suffer. So like that's the route I went, where I just poured fucking pint after pint after pint and gambled for like 30 years. But yeah, that was kind of the big flaw of Fable 3. Going back to the new Fable, hopefully we don't see stuff like that. But I do want to talk about their combat, because their combat is very Fable. You've got light attacks, you've got heavy attacks, you've got magic, you've got, a range that you can all tie together, and you've got those flourishes, those finisher kills, which are iconic to Fable. They've been in Fable since the first game, although they've, progressively gotten better. What I do want to touch on is the weapons that they show. We saw a new weapon that's completely unique to this Fable, which is the rapier and the parry dagger. That's new to Fable. What I also want to highlight here, something that people love in movies and video games, is the backward held sword, right? Like we see it with Ahsoka in Star Wars, we see it with Starkiller in Star Wars, we see it in like anime and shit like that, where people, that is completely idiotic in a real fight, doesn't work. However, there is one fighting style where that is a legitimate way to carry a weapon, and they did it in Fable. When you have a rapier and a parry knife, it was incredibly common in the 1700s and back that you would hold the parry knife backwards, because it generally had a big, like a very U-shaped hilt to capture the blade. So you weren't using it to strike, you were literally using it to block and lock a blade so you could pierce with your rapier. I thought that was a really cool touch that they added that to where it's quote unquote historically accurate, right? Obviously that's not the intent, but it's cool to see it in a game where it makes sense, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I agree on that. And I was actually like I was just like, oh shit, holy crap, like that's new. When they first started talking about the combat in the video, and I was like, is that a rapier he's using?
Yeah.
That's never been a thing.
Yeah.
But I liked how they specifically used that to really kind of start touching on the changes they've started making to the combat system for the game, like the different combos, being able to switch back and forth between ranged and your melee weapons. You'll be able to carry like two weapons with you and flow between ranged, melee, and magic.
Yeah.
They're giving you that creative ability to finesse your own fighting style however you see fit, which I love seeing in games because I'm a very old school dude. If I'm playing with friends, I'm the tank. I'm going to be the guy up front, get people to fucking attack me, and everyone else can do whatever they want. But Fable's not a multiplayer game.
No.
You really get to go back to your old roots, back when people like really gamed. They're like, all right, how do I want to do this? What does the system allow me to do?
Yeah.
So having that flexibility of just like, oh, maybe I want to have this giant maul, and that's just what I'm going to use. I'm going to be that berserker, and then still be able to tie magic into that. Because there's a couple of things that they displayed on that video where I was like, oh, holy shit, that was dope.
Yeah, the magic daggers was really cool. That was pretty awesome that I used on the cockatrice, which is a new mob. I remember my go-to for Fable 1 was maxing strength, two-handed sword, and then using the berserker spell because it made you just a monster tank. So I'm really curious to see what kind of synergies. Yeah, you beat the hell out of everything.
Oh yeah.
So I'm really curious
nothing
to see.
Stopped you.
No, nothing even phased you. So I'm really curious to see what they do with this. They did mention that the world is completely handcrafted, which is kind of cool. That suggests, doesn't confirm, but it suggests that there's no AI involved in the game at all, which is surprising considering Microsoft's push for more AI in games. So that's good to hear. Hopefully that means that there is no AI. Granted, as I've said before, in fact, on the last episode Chris was on, AI isn't the problem. The utilization of AI is the problem. So as long as AI isn't used to the extreme, I think it's fine. And as long as people didn't lose their jobs in favor of AI, I think it's fine. But handcrafted is always best, right? Especially from a AAA dev, that's what you want to see. I want to talk about the fact that we finally saw something more than the original character that was in the launch trailer. We finally, and this is the big part that I think for Chris, myself, and Zach are all like, oh, thank God. We got some character customization options. Now, you don't have character creator, but you have head selection, as well as hair, skin tone, clothes, tattoos, and scars. They make no mention of changing eye color or hair color, but I'm assuming that's included. And the question I have, right? Like, I watched that part twice. I'm like, they mentioned color. Okay, I'm going to assume that's there, but they don't mention it. So you might just be locked in with whatever fucking they decide for that. But I want to pose a question to you, Chris. All of the content we saw for a long time on this game was of that single protagonist we saw, the one that is historically not attractive at all. The game went dark for a good long time after that first trailer.
Almost a year.
And we didn't hear anything and didn't see anything for a long time. Then the next thing we saw, they told us that they had a male counterpart, but we didn't see it. Do you think this is a direct result from backlash of the fans not happy about the character design?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I 100% believe that to be backlash, because the fact that they announce it, they get so much backlash, like right out of the gate, day
almost
an hour of release. There's negative feedback. What the hell is this? Sure, use this model for your announcements because you have this person that you want to use that you hired specifically for the advertising of the game. Cool. That's not what we as the players, the consumers, care about. What creative ability are you giving me to impose myself on this character?
Because that's what Fable's all about.
Yeah, that's always what Fable has been about, right? Yep. I wholly believe that this is backlash, that is part of the reason why they went quiet. They didn't want to sit there and be like, oh, well, we'll consider this, we'll consider that. No, I think that they just went quiet. They absorbed the feedback, slow as it might have been.
Yeah.
Tried to figure something out, and then they came back out and said, yeah, of course we've got this male counterpart. Sure, yeah, that's totally always been a thing. And to further prove my point, I don't know if you caught on to this, but in the parts of the video where they have the male protagonist and you see them walking from the back, if you really pay attention to the character motion, the hip sway that is traditionally on female character models in games, the hip sway is still very much there.
I'll have to watch it again because I don't think I caught that.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
the hip sway is still
Okay.
very obviously there. You know me, I just fucking notice shit that most people don't pay attention to. But
Sure.
that caught my eye like that. And
Yeah.
I was just like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What is
A little bit of a
happening
swagger.
here?
I do want to say what gives credence to this idea too is the game was announced almost exactly 6 years ago. It was announced in 2020. That is a long, and granted, it's a AAA game, it's handcrafted, sure. That is a long time for a game to still be in development with no word. We got the initial teaser trailer, then we got the first trailer that actually showed the protagonist, then we got the second trailer. I think we've had 3 trailers overall that have shown her, and it wasn't until the third one that they confirmed, like, hey, we're gonna have a male counterpart too, because everybody's like, dude, Fable, literally since the second game, you could choose male or female. The first game you had to play as a male, but from the second on, you could always choose. So like, why are we only seeing the female protagonist, and why is she ugly as hell? But that's besides the point. So this is what has given me the most hope about the game, is that they have confirmed, and this is new. Fable has never let you customize your character to this level. You had a male or a female, and you could change hairstyles and beards if you were a guy, tattoos, that kind of stuff. But this is the first one that's giving us a little bit more control. I would have personally rather seen a full custom character creation. However, if these are preset faces, hopefully that means that they did a really good job with motion capture. So we're going to see some really good expressive facial features of those characters. So I'm okay with it. We'll see where it goes. I don't want to say the game looks really great at this point, but I've got a lot more interest in it now.
Yeah. It looks good. I'm with you. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, holy shit, this game looks amazing. It looks good. And that's what I've chosen to latch on to. That ultimately it's just, hey, okay, cool. You guys are giving me some renewed hope on what's happening with this. So I will take it. I will continue to monitor what it is you guys have got going on. But I like what I'm seeing so far. Just, keep this up.
Yeah, it's definitely, I would say, renewed its hope. I'm happy to hear that the team is fans of the franchise. So I'm hoping they'll do it justice. And I mean, it's not far. They announced what they call autumn, because they're British, a fall release date. So we don't have a date, but we have a window. It's going to be Q3 of this year. And wildly enough, Xbox, PC, and PlayStation release. Xbox has basically given up, and they are 100% multi-platform.
They're Microsoft now.
Yeah.
I don't foresee us ever getting Xbox exclusives anymore.
Yeah, which is wild because exclusive sell systems. They always have. Sony doesn't really do exclusives anymore either. They do timed exclusives, and then they come to PC. But basically all this has done is confirm that Fable is back on the docket for something to pay attention to for me. And I think that's kind of where we leave it for now.
Yeah. My last statement I'll have on that is kind of going back to what you've talked about, how it's great to see the team that's passionate about not just creating this Fable experience as like a new game, but they distinctly said, we want to bring old Fable fans back and kind of give them that renewed light of their childhood. Because, I mean, that's what it was for us. Like, we were kids when this game came out.
Yep.
So it's just like, yeah, sure, we're bringing this back, but we also want to make sure that people recognize it's like we're not just doing this to bring back the old systems. We want to bring new blood into this fandom, really expand that. So that was what I latched on, and I appreciate from the team.
I was just thinking, we'll probably see something at Summer Games Show, I would imagine. Maybe an announcement date of an actual release date. And here's something I was thinking. Xbox is not a stranger to bringing titles to PAX. There is not a zero chance that we see it at PAX in September.
Shit, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
It's a non-zero chance, especially since PAX is now, and has been since E3 is gone, the largest game fest on the West Coast.
Yeah.
There's a chance that we see it at PAX, which would be really cool.
That would be really cool. I would love that.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's Fable. Let's move on to Outward 2. So, peeling back the curtain on my side here, Outward was a game I got a review copy for when we still had the website, coin-drop.com, years ago. And boy, I did not enjoy that game at all. I don't know if I'm alone in that regard, but I remember being dropped into that world with no explanation, with graphics that looked like they were PS2 era, and no fucking clue what to do. When I would look at, I think I got it on PlayStation 4 as well. I looked at the like promotional material, and their screenshots that they had looked better than what the game did. And I was like, what the fuck did you guys do? What the fuck is this game? I was pissed. I was furious. So I'm not a fan of Outward. And the fact that they got a sequel seems to suggest that I'm probably in the minority on that regard. So why don't you tell me what's going on with Outward 2 and what your thoughts were on Outward 1?
Well, I'll start this with, you are definitely not in the minority of not being a fan of Outward.
Okay.
They were very notorious for its figure it the fuck out yourself kind of game.
Sure.
There is no tutorial. You get dropped into the game, kind of like you said, and it's just like hey, here's a story thing that's happening. We'll give you basically 2 options to figure out your first quest, but kind of like how I've spoken about before, like how I miss games that don't hold your fucking hand. Oh man, these guys took it to an extreme.
I mean, to the point where I remember in the first game, initially I spawned near a town or in a town, and then I got killed or something happened, and I died, and I had to start over, and I spawned in a completely different place in the world, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
I enjoyed Outward because Outward 1 very specifically was just like, hey, you're not fulfilling some destiny. You're not like the chosen one of some fucking god. No, you're just some schmuck who got a series of bad luck things happening. And now it's just okay, cool. You either lose your house at the beginning of the game or you figure a way out to save your house. And then that's kind of it. You just kind of go out into the world and venture forth from there.
So what's new with Outward 2? What are they changing? What are they keeping the same?
I haven't played too much of it. I got maybe an hour and a half in last night when I got home from work and got done with everything and my reports. Outward 2 kind of feels like they're following the same script they did for Outward 1.
Okay.
In terms of how the story is starting, it's, you end up in the situation to where you get exiled and you basically have to prove your innocence, and they give you a time limit for that, which is pretty much exactly what happens in Outward 1. It's, hey, you have a time limit to save your house so you still have a place to live. Otherwise, you just go become some random hobo out in the world and do whatever. What I do like that they kind of started on this, though, is that you get like a background, which will give you bonuses to stats. There's like 2 or 3 things. I forget the terminology that they used for it, but you get a background that gives you stats, so you can kind of like wager your stats for like a certain build. And then there are 2 traits that you can select, which kind of do the same thing. They either give you like a huge plus to one specific trait or like a small plus and then a small negative to like certain stats. So like it really gives you a way to like leverage a build right out of the gate. It also looks like they're going to have 3 starting towns. All of your stories don't have to start out of the same town. You're like, okay, cool, this predictability. I'm going to do this, go talk to this guy and do that. I think you'll eventually get to that point. But there are 3 separate towns that you'll eventually get to. Only one of them is playable currently in the playtest.
Got it.
But other than that, honestly, the game still feels like Outward 1. You've got your stamina bar. If you start using attacks, blocks, or anything like that while your stamina is low, you start getting a burnout bar. Basically, you lose maximum stamina or maximum health and stuff like that. So there are still penalties to things like that. A lot of those classic systems from Outward 1 are still present in there. You still have to manage your rest, your temperature, food intake, water intake, your stamina, your health management. It does look like they kind of revamped the crafting system, so you can make your own food. You can craft your own items now too. Potions like alchemy. but you're also getting weapons craft, because while I haven't gotten that far in Outward 2,
Sure.
I did pick up a recipe for a sword.
Okay.
But other than that, it's you get exiled and you're got this little subquest where you're proving your worth or your innocence. Sorry, not your worth. Outside of that, the game still very much feels like Outward 1 in terms of like the movement, the combat system. It's still very much classic Outward 1. That is all still there. The feel is still there. And it's been a couple of years since I've played Outward, but as soon as I started playing, I was like, yes, this very much reminds me of Outward 1.
Honestly, it seems like a game that would be played best in co-op. It really looks like it leans on co-op.
Yeah, and that is one of those things. I think they eventually released that for Outward 1.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those,
it wasn't
you can start this as a co-op game.
Yeah, it wasn't
I think it was
feature.
originally released.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was originally released as just a solo play, and eventually came out with, you can have one co-op person.
Yeah.
If I remember right, I believe they are going to heavily lean into the co-op option for Outward 2.
That's what it looks like from their trailers that I was just watching and checking out, was that there's a lot of co-op play shown. So I don't know, maybe it's something I'll request the access to, maybe check it out. But I remember wanting to like Outward. I just 40 minutes of frustration, and I'm like, I want to like this game, but I don't.
It's very easy to get frustrated with it because, like I said, there's zero hand-holding. They'll explain the combat system, interactions with you, but that's it.
Yeah.
There's new mining stuff that you can do in the game. If I remember right, I stepped out of the town and immediately found a mana vein stone that I could mine, and I was like, that was not in the first game. I mean, so far, I'm still getting a very classic Outward feel from the playtest.
Hey, fans are going to find more of what they love, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's still challenging combat. Got one person, and don't underestimate them because they will fuck you up.
Yeah, very Dark Souls style combat. If you like that punishingly difficult kind of gameplay, there is a playtest going on now, and it's planned release in... what do you know, Q3 of 2026. I got to be honest, of the two between Fable and this one, I'm probably going Fable.
I'm not going to lie. I very definitely am too.
Yeah.
I love Outward. It's definitely one of those games to where it's challenging and frustrating enough to where it's play it with a friend.
Yeah,
because
it seems like it's that kind of game.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to swallow that frustration pill when you've got somebody to sit there and laugh about it. You're like, why the hell did you let this giant caterpillar just beat your ass? Like, you just got your ass beat by a giant caterpillar, and you can laugh about it with somebody rather than just being like, God damn it, just let this fucking caterpillar kill me.
I mean, that's what made Dark Souls 3 great.
I was killed by a giant caterpillar last night like 5 times.
Dark Souls 3 was made really great by its co-op, and then you put on like the Thorns armor and just roll on everything. Makes it a very fun, stupid game to play. Yeah, co-op's a great addition. It's a game that I'll probably watch, but maybe one day on sale I'll pick it up. But I think I might end up passing on it. Well, speaking of a game that's got its fans, there is a new dark fantasy action RPG coming out. And actually, Mike and I talked about this game a good while ago, back when it was an untitled game. And I got the news from a ARPG master that I follow called Riker, who does all kinds of great videos for Diablo and Path of Exile and everything. He is the ARPG go-to, in my opinion. Well, this is the game from Moonbeast Games, and this is being published and developed by legends of the ARP genre, original creators of Diablo 1 and 2, Eric Schaefer, Peter Hugh, and of course, Philip Shank. And for those of you who don't know, Shank is a person whose namesake any Diablo 2 player can tell you they have killed at least a handful of times, because he put himself in the game as Shank the Overseer in Act 5 of Diablo 2, which was just the most fun. So they have this new game, which now has a title, Darkhaven. And we've talked about it in the past, but we're going to touch on it again because there's some information here we want to talk about. First of all, it's an open world procedurally generated game that has voxel-based destruction. So what that means is you're playing an ARPG where you can literally break down the dungeon you're in by doing damage to the environment, creating massive craters. You can have a fully dynamic environment in the sense that there are pools of lava, and if there's a river nearby, you can literally destroy the earth to a point to make that water run into the lava. You can jump, swim, and soar, kind of fly across the map, which is completely unique to ARPGs. You've never been able to do that. And let me tell you, watching a video of an ARPG where the guy jumps over the enemy to dodge an attack is fucking mind-blowing. That was something I never even would have considered in an ARPG. So there are some things about this game that make me really excited, but the lack of a coherent story as of right now is what's keeping me on the edge of like, not so much. Because for me, story is everything. Gameplay is great, but story is everything. And all we know so far about the story is that it is set in the aftermath of a great and final collapse of civilization, and you are the last hope to save the world from this eldritch monster that's come to basically eat the rest of the planet. So that's kind of what we know. There are, from what I recall, world events that if you don't stop will just spread throughout the entire world until your whole world is consumed, and it's a no-win scenario. There is some information here from the CEOs, the three that I mentioned, Peter, Philip, and Eric, that I do want to touch on though, and we're going to touch on them kind of one at a time. Eric Schaefer said, and I quote, "Darkhaven embraces bold, expansive loot, items that feel powerful, sometimes surprisingly so, and capable of redefining builds rather than merely optimizing." So one thing that is always a cornerstone of every ARPG is the loot. And there are multiple schools of thinking in loot. You've got the Path of Exile way, and you've got the Diablo way. Unfortunately, Diablo 4 has gone more Path of Exile than they have been in the past with their own kind of style. This statement from Eric makes me think we're going to see more of a traditional Diablo 2 style loot, which is really good because I've said it before. Chris, you've probably tired of me saying this at this point. Diablo and ARPGs are played best when you kill a monster, find a loot, it's better, you put it on and you move on. Keeping in the game in combat, to me, is what makes ARPGs fun. That my daughter is putting a hat on my head. It does not fit. She is up late because we are recording, so now I'm wearing the hat. She's having a good time.
Sure are.
But I like ARPGs that aren't all about theory crafting and spending all your time in spreadsheets and building gear and refining the gear and getting those marginal increases. Diablo 3 does that in their seasons, but you get there and it's a natural progression. You get that first big set and then you move into those small refining things. Diablo 4 is much more the whole journey is building a single piece of gear to that point. And Path of Exile, I don't know so much about 2, but I remember Path of Exile having a really high bar to entry theory crafting. So the fact that they're saying like, hey, you're going to get pieces of gear that will make you completely rethink your build in this game is really cool, because that's the kind of gear that I want personally.
Yeah, PoE crafting is still like you take this currency item, smash it into this, and hope you get what you want out of it.
Yeah.
Or you can, what they do, corrupting, you'll get like Vol orbs and you can corrupt this, and it's a randomizer basically. So you could have like this one really good item and you're like, I can probably make this better if I corrupt it. But now I'm also running the chance of literally destroying and bricking this item, and now I have to go find something new on here. So it is nice that this game is going to stick to something a little bit more like traditional sense, because while some people, like my roommate, love the idea of sitting down, I can do this with this item, this has this many slots for like primary, secondary, I forget the actual terminology they have for it, and you know, like, oh, this can fit this, or this has this one great stat, but it's bricked by this other stat down here.
It's min-maxing, theory crafting, and risk management is what that is. And that's not what I like about ARPGs. I want to watch big numbers, and I want to have, going back to Diablo 3, the huge change there was their legendary affixes, right? Like you would get gear that did these crazy things, and it was like, holy, this is insane. Like if I do this, it's going to completely change how I play everything. And that's kind of where Diablo 3 started with those. So I'm hoping that we're going to see kind of that same thing with Darkhaven, with their gear, is that idea of like, okay, you use this ability, but now you've got this headgear that if you use this, you do like 5,000% area damage. Fucking what?
Yeah.
Like crazy crowd control.
Yeah.
So
I personally really like that too, because while I have fun with PoE and doing that kind of like, oh, I'm going to follow this person's build, and once I get to a certain point, it's like, okay, what can I tweak here? What can I do to make this more mine? While I do have my fun with that sometimes, I don't have the same level of fun as most PoE fans have with it. I would like to just be like, okay, cool, this is my game plan for this character. Go through, find the items that stick to that game plan, or come across this one item to where I'm like, oh, holy crap, this is completely changing my build, but I love the sound of that, and then just pivot and just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going. I want to go through. I want to hack and slash. I want to blow my screen up and kill everything that's on there. I want to get to the big bad and, you know, have my fun with all like the flashy stuff that I've got going on. I don't want to have to stop and worry about, okay, crap, I'm at this boss now and I'm having problems, so I can take this stuff and make my chest plate a little bit more defenses. Oh, but I gotta fix my resistances. Where can I fit resistances in my gear? So that's all fun, but it has its place in my game chest, you know? Like, if I want to use my brain, I'll go play a game like that.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to watch green arrows go up and just equip better gear.
Yeah. We've got to be responsible adults. Our brain power is being constantly used by other stuff. You're a parent. Your brain power is constantly being taken up by all full-time student, part-time jobs, I think in some cases for you still.
This podcast is a job, let me tell you.
Sometimes we just want to sit at our computer and watch big numbers because it makes our simple brains fucking happy.
Yep, facts.
And we need more modern games that still feed to that simplicity while still being fun to play, you know?
Yeah, and I hope there's more depth to the story here. Again, what Riker said he played at the time was very shallow in terms of story depth and narrative direction. I think that's still ultimately the goal for Darkhaven, but I'm hoping that we'll see more of that develop as the game goes on and there will be more narrative. There is a Kickstarter coming soon. It is not out yet. It is on Steam and you can wishlist it on Steam right now under Darkhaven, all one word. Highly recommend if you're a fan of Diablo. If you're a fan of Phil Shank and Eric Schaefer and all these guys that are just legends in the ARPG world, I guarantee you, even if this game isn't for me, it will be a phenomenal ARPG. Just zero doubt that it will be a great ARPG.
One last note that I would like to drop on this is looking at the Steam page. I scroll down to the bottom and right there, right above system requirements, says total modding freedom. We are building Darkhaven to be fully moddable from the ground up using our in-client editor. Create your own items, monsters, classes, and quests in real time. That is one heck of a thing. At release, this is what they're aiming for. Like, that's pretty huge.
Yeah, very cool. And Peter Hugh kind of echoed Eric Schaefer's comments on gear. He said, quote, "We want items to open doors, gear that makes you stop and rethink your build, your strategy, or even how you play the game. Finding something powerful should be exciting and inspiring, not something that gets smoothed out in tiny percentage gains." Which is, again, two completely different philosophies for itemization. That has its place, as Chris has said. That's a PoE standard, is getting those small incremental increases. Unfortunately, Diablo 4 went that same route and has become kind of the same thing. So I'm very happy to hear that Darkhaven is really leaning on just like, boom, this shit's got some power behind it. So I'm excited for it. I will definitely play it, even if I don't enjoy it as much as a narrative-driven ARPG. I'm at the very least gonna check this game out because it looks really fun. And voxel-based, world-destructible, procedurally generated jump. You can jump. It was a big deal when Diablo 3 added a dodge mechanic. We have jumping now, which changes, just that addition alone changes how you approach combat so much more. Just awesome. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that because I've been stuck watching this little tactical combat and truly open movement little like video that they've got on their Steam page where they're just jumping across obstacles, jumping over dashing enemies.
Yeah.
It really adds the 3D. You're not just stuck on this 2D plane moving or dashing side to side. but like you're actually giving it like a Z axis, and it's like, oh, okay, that changes combat in the ARPG sense, as you've been saying.
Just spitballing off the top of my head, the addition of a jump feature, theoretically gives you the ability to increase your jump height to the point where you could potentially jump into the air high enough that you could come down as an ability and do like a meteor strike. Just a thought. Like, I don't know if that's something they're considering, but you could literally make it like, hey, what if we add like a meteor strike ability? Now you just jump up, dodge all the damage, come down to a huge AoE explosion that creates a massive crater in the world because you have fully destructible environments. I mean, just there's endless potential once you start interacting with that Z dimension, right?
Yeah, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Moonbeast Productions, we are copywriting that move, by the way. So if you guys want it, it will absolutely be mandatory to be called Karth Smash. Just throwing that out there.
Karth Smash.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I'm hoping maybe they come up to PAX this year. I think they're still in Anaheim down there, but I'm not too sure. David Brevik's obviously local in Seattle now, so maybe they'll come up to see him. Maybe he'll come out to PAX again this year. We'll see. But I'm excited to see more from Moonbeast on it. And if you like ARPGs, check it out. We have a link to the Kickstarter in the show notes. I made sure to copy that, as well as it's on Steam. Go wishlist it. Let them know you're interested.
I already did.
Yep. I did it the second I saw the email. I was like, fuck yeah. Well, moving on to our quickfire for the night. We got a couple real quickly. We're going to hit here. My daughter is up really late, so we need to get through this and get through the Patreon so I can put her to bed because she's losing her mind. First off on the docket, a indie solo developer reached out to me regarding my review of Pale Coins. He saw that, thought that I might like the game he's working on. It is called Vicarious, and it's similar to Pale Coins in the sense that it is a top-down ARPG pixel art kind of style game like Pale Coins, solo deving it, but it is inspired by Metroidvania and employs single-player extraction mechanics. Very interesting combination. There is a demo out for it on Steam. It's called Vicarious, Vicarius. It's on Steam. I'll have that link in the show notes. And the idea there is that you have a home base. The further you go from the base, the harder the enemies, the better potential loot you get, the higher the risk, right? So you craft weapons and kind of explore this world. I haven't gotten a chance to play the demo yet, but he sent it to me. I told him I'd mention it. I told him I was a bit behind the 8 ball on getting caught up on footage and stuff I do need to edit. So there's his plug. Check it out. There's a demo. Like I said, I don't think there's a release date currently announced on his Steam page. But if you liked our review of Pale Coins, if you played Pale Coins, or if a Metroidvania ARPG hack and slash adventure game with extraction mechanics, oh, that's a mouthful, sounds interesting to you, you can check it out.
Yeah.
Moving on here, Aether and Iron, a game we talked about from PAX last year, is finally coming in spring. So it will be coming out. Ooh. If you're unfamiliar with the game, it is a very, very, very beautifully drawn game. It is a futuristic 1930s CRPG. Plays, if you're familiar with Baldur's Gate, similar to Baldur's Gate, but with cars. And it's really cool. It looks really good. The voice actress for the lead character, God, I cannot remember her name off the top of my head right now. Anyways, 1930s future sci-fi kind of like steampunky style game. Looks really cool. Comes out in spring. Don't have an exact release date, but we do have a demo out for it now. So if you want to check it out, Aether and Iron, spelled with an A, E-T-H-E-R, and Iron, is available on Steam right now for a demo. Highly recommend checking it out if you're a fan of the 1930s aesthetic, the whole gumshoe style PI thing, and CRPGs.
I might have to check that out because I know you got to check it out because you got a media pass and you actually got to go in, sit down with them, check that game out.
I got that guy.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
And of course I was there with you for PAX, but not as media, so I didn't get access to a lot of that stuff. So I might have to. I'm gonna have to try that out because I remember looking at the footage that you shared with us, and I was like, oh man, this looks so good, so fun.
It's really cool. There's, again, choices matter. It's that kind of RPG where every choice you make does impact stuff. I remember stealing a bottle of liquor just because I could, and it came in play later on in just that demo alone, where I was like, oh shit, I've got this, here, leave her alone, kind of thing. So Very cool.
Yeah.
A lot of replay value with that. Moving on, Hank Drowning on Dry Land is out on Steam right now for $2.99. This is another game I played at PAX, and this, I'm going to clarify here, is a very, very, very short game. I'm talking once you understand how to play it, it might take you 45 seconds to beat. However, it's a proof of concept game, and it's really hard to explain if you haven't seen it or played it. It is a comic book style game in a sense that it actually looks like a drawn comic, not just cel shaded, but it kind of plays out that way, where you play as Hank, who is an alcoholic superhero who controls time. And it is very, very unique experience in that you have to avoid causing paradoxes. You cannot cross paths with yourself or the game ends. So it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle comic book superhero game that, as the dev told me, a proof of concept for what they hope to achieve. So they built this to hopefully attract investors to make a full-length game. But let me tell you, it's really fun. And for $3, if you're at all interested, I highly recommend you check it out, because yes, it is incredibly short, but the first time you play it, I guarantee you it's going to take you a minimum of 20 minutes to get through, because you have to time things perfectly with your ability to rewind time. We're not talking Prince of Persia style rewind time where you have a certain amount of time. You can go all the way back to the start of the game. You can go all the way forward to the end of the game. But you have to figure out your way through this path to disarm this bomb before it goes off without crossing your own path and without dying from other enemies and environmental dangers. Very cool.
Yeah.
Art style's really good. Seriously, $3. It's not a waste of money if you like puzzles and really good music. It had really good music.
That sounds like something I would just bring up on like my Steam Deck while I'm just hanging out somewhere, something like that. You know, like maybe with a couple of drinks and just have a lot of stupid fun with it.
Again, it's $3 if you like puzzles at all and a really interesting take on time control. Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
A judge in the UK rules that the theft of over $700,000 worth of gold in RuneScape is a fair lawsuit. I don't have a ton of information on this, but an ex-dev at JagX reportedly stole $700,000 worth of in-game RuneScape gold from a player who is now suing him for that theft as theft. And the UK judge says, yeah, no, that's reasonable. So that's going to set some interesting precedent for theft moving forward. Digital theft. Capcom apparently has a bit of an issue with Monster Hunter Wilds, a new one. Their new DLC specifically has a patch in it that once you buy it, fixes your frame rate issue.
Like confirmed.
This is not a speculation. This is in the patch notes confirmed. You buy their DLC, they will unlock your frame rate, and not like make it unlocked, but give you the frames you should be getting. We are pressing a dangerous precedent here, Capcom, and my suggestion is fix it and make that free, because subscription-based FPS, kind of garbage.
So if I remember right, and I'm double checking here because I wanted to make sure we're pushing out accurate information. Because of the recent DLC, there was something in the system that basically made it where the game would spend resources scanning for that DLC. So if you didn't get the DLC, your system would spend time and resources basically being like, oh, it doesn't have this DLC. This DLC is not here, which would mess with your frame rate and all that kind of stuff. They had to then come out with a patch that prevented your system from constantly needing to scan for that DLC. Yeah, because it says this patch will include optimization improvements for Steam-specific processes and options to reduce the processing load, which is them basically saying like, yeah, we realized our game was trying to do this constantly, which messed with people. It's not so much it's, oh, hey, buy the DLC and that's going to fix this problem, but it's, yeah, we introduced this problem by accident because of our DLC. So it's great that they fixed that, but that's how that whole mess came about.
And yet Capcom's like, don't worry, Resident Evil 9 will release perfect for PC. Don't worry, it's gonna be okay.
Anyone who says our game will release perfect, I immediately don't trust you, because that's not how this shit works.
Don't worry. All right.
Capcom has a history of that too. Like, they really do. They're like, oh, don't worry about this.
Usually their history is accurate. I mean, in the past, like, dude, before Wilds came out, I remember saying, yeah, Wilds will launch great. Capcom never releases bad product. Yeah, I guess so. Happens to everybody.
That didn't age well.
No. Well, that is going to wrap us up for the free side. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for watching, or whatever you're doing. Hopefully you're not driving. Don't do that. Don't drive and watch. Drive and listen. Don't drive and watch. We're going to head over to Patreon if you want to get that extra content over there. $3 a month, patreon.com/CoinDrop pod. We're going to talk about some Ubisoft information over there, as well as the upcoming games for the next 2-ish weeks. Chris, any final words before we take off?
Subscribe to Patreon, because then you'll be able to get to see our gorgeous faces.
They could do that on the free side.
That's the.
Have a great night, everyone.
Know that.